6 years. That's how long we waited for One Punch Man Season 3. And what we got was this.
とはなんて悪いやつだ。俺が追いかけよう。
よどんだ空気に血の匂いが混じっているな。
No, these aren't edits. This is just how the show looks now. But it's kind of hard to forget just how good that first season was. Comparing episode 1 from each season's first episode, you immediately feel it. This wasn't just another anime, but it was a result of a director who believed in giving animators freedom. And that director was Shingo Natsume, the same guy behind Space Dandy. And like he did there, he brought together a dream team and some of the best animators across the entire industry. You had people that worked on Akira, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Dragon Ball Z, Evangelion, and even some Studio Ghibli veterans. Out of roughly 169 key animators, over 120 weren't even from Madhouse. They were freelancers, Studio Trigger staff, Studio Bones legends, all pouring into one project because while they respected Natsume, they also just simply wanted to. And that's what makes Season 1 so special. It wasn't just skill, it was a collaboration. As when you watch it today, every frame screams personality. But that kind of lineup doesn't last forever. It's been almost 10 years since that first episode aired. And those same animators have scattered across the industry. Natsume went on to direct Boogie Pop and Sunny Boy. Animators like Oda and Kagai followed him there, while others like Ryu Nakayama went on to direct Chainsaw Man. Kamida shaped the style for Mob Psycho, and Yutaka Nakamura continued his iconic work on My Hero Academia and Free Rein. In other words, all those god-tier artists that made up One Punch Man Season 1 were gone, and that left the series itself in a strange position. The passion that once defined it now lives on across a dozen different shows. And while it's great these animators are finally getting the recognition they deserve, with the names Natsume, Kagai, and Oda all being thrown around more and more, but it also highlights why One Punch Man will never look the same again. But with that said, I still want to break down why this new talent at JC Staff, which yes, they do have talent, is not hitting the same way, and kind of break down what's actually going wrong in some of these shots from an animator's perspective. And I have the perfect scene to start with. So yeah, this is actually from the last episode of Season 2, but I'm using this because you can clearly see that these frames at the end almost pop in. Well, to understand why this looks so bad, we have to go back to the start of the animation process. As before any animation happens, you start with the storyboarder, the person that lays out the shot. In this episode, it happens to be Chikara Sakurai. And looking at his past storyboards, they're actually really quite good. And these strong poses and silhouettes are extremely helpful, as then the key animator, which is someone who usually has a lot of experience, can take that storyboard and expand and kind of make it their own thing. We'll get to Season 3, but because we don't have any of the storyboards yet, we'll use this shot from the previous episode. As the key animator, we'll create 1 or 2 frames, but for this shot, we actually get 4. Then it goes to the job of the in-betweener, which their job is to fill in all the drawings between those key poses. But for this shot, they probably only got 2 keyframes. We don't have the storyboards or the key animation for this shot, so I'll be doing my best to fill in the visuals. But going off this process, when it's passed down to that in-between animator, who are usually often newer or less experienced, they have the job of keeping everything consistent and smooth. Like imagine trying to say copy a drawing, but change the pose slightly and then do that 4 more times. It's kind of daunting, but the plus about being an in-betweener is those frames are not on screen for long, so if you mess up, it doesn't really matter. The only reason it does stick out here is because of how slow the movement is. So this is a great example because suddenly every tiny mistake, every off-proportioned limb, every off-angled face stays on screen long enough for your brain to register it. So when this is then given to cleanup and color, which usually is not their job to fix the core frames, but to give them as much polish as they can in the allotted time frame, we end up getting this as the end product. Structurally, these scenes should look good. The storyboards are strong, the composition is there, but when that solid foundation gets handed off to inexperienced or exhausted staff, plus veterans that don't have the time to fix those frames, it creates a problem in the pipeline. I mean, if you want to see the shot done correctly, we can go to the Blu-rays where those mistakes have been fixed. So this problem isn't about skill, it's about time. Back in Season 2, JC Staff had 6 months to make 12 episodes, so we can only speculate that they have the same amount for Season 3. But finally getting back to that Garu shot, I've seen people be like, well, this is just how you animate someone sliding down a slope from that distance. But it's not, because we've seen that exact shot in Season 1.
is an embarrassment.
It's because they knew they didn't have enough time. Seeing that this shot already had animation you focused on, they tweened, which is just when the computer moves the frame from one place to another, Garu down the hill. And again, like the previous example, and because of the fan backlash, they will almost definitely fix this in the Blu-rays. But again, that's when they have the time to do so. When you don't have time, you can't do retakes, you can't polish, and you can't even teach your in-betweeners how they could improve. These veterans are way too busy fixing what they can or moving on to the next shot. Now, there is one more thing we haven't talked about, and that's the compositing. And in season 2, it was pretty bad. Overblown airbrushing, crushed values, and just weird glows everywhere. Everything just looked oversaturated and muddy. Great animation cuts were just hidden under heavy filters, and some of these impact frames were just lost completely. It wasn't the animators that lacked skill, it's just their work was being buried under a layer of poor post-production. But here's the thing, season 3 actually fixes a lot of this. The colors can breathe again, shadows feel more natural, and instead of that hazy digital glow from season 2, you get a sharper contrast and more consistent value range, where you can finally see the line art with these drawings reading similar to the first seasons. So if it's not the compositing and it's not the talent, as it's not like these new heads don't have passion, as back in 2021, one of JC Staff's own animators, Kenichiro Aoki, the same guy that did the Garu key animation I showed, actually animated a fan piece where he lifts the shirt over his head. The hair shifts, the subtle body movement, as well as the natural weight to it, made it a great piece of animation. And the crazy part is, while the JC Staff logo was on the paper it was drawn on, they didn't use it. Why? Well, again, it's down to time, because cleaning and coloring and shading that sequence can take longer than most studios can actually afford now. But when you take time away, you also take passion away. And without that, you take everything that made One Punch Man great in the first place. I mean, it's kind of ironic. The more successful a series gets, the less time it's then given to breathe. And this kind of speaks to anime as a whole. Is honestly, this might be what's happening to Steel Ball Run, as that adaptation has all the warning signs. High expectations, an impossible production schedule, and the pressure to follow one of the most visually complex stories in manga history. When you see that passion disappear from a show like One Punch Man, it's a reminder that no matter how iconic the series is, no team can outrun burnout. At the end of the day, One Punch Man Season 3 might never reach the heights of that first season. But it's not like JC Staff doesn't care, as unlike some studios now, they still have enough care to touch up some of the rougher scenes for the Blu-ray releases. It doesn't undo the mistakes, and even if the anime never fully recovers, we'll always have the manga, which Murata's art is still some of the best you'll ever see. As that is also an adaptation, every page reminding you of what the story can be when talent has time to breathe. So if the animations let you down, you can always support the official manga. Or jailbreak your Kindle.